So, what's your take on just everything that's been going on specifically in New York? Because, I'm here in LA, so I don't see New York as firsthand. But, the one thing, there aren't really, the silver lining is the hope that the protesters, give society, but also, I am kind of happy to see Cuomo's 15 minutes of fame go away and people calling him out for what he actually is.
It's so weird to see Cuomo go from being God to like almost the devil. It's like, I don't know. I didn't see that one coming. It was just it's pretty wild. Yeah, so I'm actually not in New York right now. My birthday
okay.
was the day of the shutdown in New York. I always go home to my parents in Maryland for my birthday. So I visit my parents in Maryland. It's about a 5-hour drive from New York.
Yeah.
I visit them about once a month as it is. And my birthday was the day of the shutdown in New York. So I've just been here since. And I'm going to get back to New York at some point. I don't own a car. If I had a car, I'd be going back here and there to check on my place, but it's, having to rent a car and get up there, and I don't want to do the trains yet. Normally I just do the trains, but I don't, I don't know if that's the wisest move with the air on that train. And I don't know how crowded or not crowded it would be, but, I'm in touch with, a lot of my friends in New York, and the comedy clubs are quite worried because many of them don't know if they'll be in business. And that's throughout the country. Again, our government is not taking care of people enough.
No. No, and this is something that I'm sure you have some takes on too, because so many people throughout the world, especially in show business. Other places, they're actually taking care of small businesses, not just using it as a dog whistle for corporations to get more money. So they're kind of just putting things on hold, and then we'll get back to it when the world reopens. That's what they're doing in England. So there's not this concern that, that is a valid thing, in our business. Like, it might not look the same. And it's also like, dude, I walk around my neighborhood and I'm just like, what if everything here is a Starbucks next year?
Yeah, or nothing. Yeah.
Or nothing.
Yeah. Or one Starbucks a block and nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the grocery store and the hardware store, and that's it. Yeah. So it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine, a comic from Copenhagen. Copenhagen's like the UK and Scandinavia and the Netherlands have had stand-up comedy for quite a while. The rest of Europe, it's really quite new. So anyways, there's a comedy club in Copenhagen. It's a great club called the Comedy Zoo. It's one of the best comedy clubs anywhere. It looks like you walk in there and you just can't wait to perform there. It's like, it's such a
so cool
room. And so anyways, the comedy club there was owned by somebody. He was going to just close it a couple years ago. And then about 5 comics got together and bought it from him. So since the shutdown, I asked him about, how did you guys, were you taken care of and stuff? Now, they did not get rent. They were still working on getting some kind of rent relief from the government, and that hadn't been figured out yet. So that was bad. However, with their landlord agreed to a 75% reduction of their rent. So they only had to pay 25% of what they normally do. That's good. But that they worked out on an individual thing. Now, government-wise, if they didn't fire any of their staff, the government would pay their staff 75% of their salary. So, and that's immediately. And that's not 100%, but it's still pretty fucking good. You can probably still get by on 75%,
Yeah.
And as a comic, since he was out of work as a comic, I asked him what he got, and he did get relief from the government. And I think it was around what he would regularly be making as a comic, which was somewhere around $3,000 a month or something like that. So he was getting that. So it's like, if I mean, that just seems like the normal thing. You know, the government's like, hey, for safety, we have to close all the businesses. So we're still going to fucking pay you. So you don't have to worry, you know, and then we can actually lock down and fucking stop the disease. And then when we've stopped it, we can gradually go back. And here they were just like pretty much, no, they did some, you know, the PUA of 600 a week, if you're able to get it, was actually pretty decent. But so many people still haven't been able to get it or have had trouble getting it because of, you know, and then, but basically, you know, a lot of the states just start reopening. And like I'm someone who's living in Hong Kong, and I think they've had their plan. I haven't checked up on them in a few weeks, but their plan was to have 28 days straight of 0 new cases locally transmitted. And they were already at 2 or 3 weeks in a row of 0 in all of Hong Kong, you know, and then they were like, okay, and then we'll start opening up. Here in this country, there's still 1,000 people dying a day, and they're like, open it up. So
you gotta work. You gotta work.
It's like basically the motto of America now is you have to die to live. I mean, that's basically it. You know?
It's a capitalism death cult, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It is a capitalism death cult, and it's just
who's the guy who used that term, the human stock capital or human capital stock? I forget what it was.
I don't know.
This human capital stock, which was just like, it was some guy in one of the Sunday morning shows. I think it was like a week or two ago. He
okay.
The workers as human capital stock, and it was
my God.
Viewing people as just a number, doesn't matter. There's a certain number you can just completely sacrifice. It's like, and I don't even know if he realized he revealed himself that way, but he did. I wish I remembered who it was. But
they make all those subtle revelations constantly in the media, and it's just like when you take a step back, it's just so gross. Like when Wolf Blitzer was like, "Well, if we stop the wars, that would hurt jobs, right?" It's like, do you realize what you just said? And they do stuff like that all the time, and it's on steroids right now.
Yeah,
because of the pandemic, because they're like, well, how's the stock market going to respond to this? And it's like, we're in a pandemic.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I think all these protests that are going on, if it wasn't for the shutdown and the pandemic, I don't think you would have these sustained protests. I mean, I've been to Black Lives Matter protests before, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, several times. And, you know, it was a good turnout in New York, but it wasn't anything sustained. You know, it wasn't 2 weeks in a row, every day and every night. And not even just the big cities. In small suburban towns, people are marching, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So, but if it wasn't, you know, people have been out of work for more than 2 months. You look at the kids who are graduating high school and college, or you know, who knows what they have in store for them. You know, the government's giving them nothing, and the colleges, so many of them are going online, and I think a lot of them are still charging the same fees, which are overpriced by 1,000 or more % to begin with. So they got nothing to lose. It's like, and I don't know. I think people are finally starting to realize, you know, that you know, there's no good guys and bad guys in elected office. It's mostly bad guys, various levels in different ways.
Various levels, different types of bad guys. I
remember reading a Cornell West book 10 years ago. And he was talking about, you know, like, you know, you can't expect the government to do stuff for you. You have to force them to do it. And everyone coming together is the only way to do that, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like, and that's why, I mean, the biggest thing I am a stand for is general strike. I'm like, we need a general strike. We need a general strike yesterday. That's my 2020 endorsement, general strike. We got to strike.
Yeah, I mean, April 15th, tax day, that should have been a given right there, you know, and a national rent strike. How have we not had just that alone, a national rent strike, you know, the next 1st of the month, you know, July 1st, rent strike nationwide. That I would love to see the politicians' speeches after that one.
Yeah, because when you take a step back and you look at what the United States did, I mean, we're talking about these other countries where it's just like, okay, we're going to pay up to 80% of your wages or 75% of your wages. We're going to take care of these businesses so they don't have to close. In the United States, we basically just said, hey, banks, here's more money because you want it.
Yeah.
Are you going to take care of people? Yeah, no. Okay, we're going to go on vacation anyway. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, that first bill, you're totally right. Their first thing was to give billionaires money,
Yeah,
and then go on vacation for 3 weeks during a historic pandemic.
yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely.
I will
remarkable.
give a little bit of credit because the 600 a week, like I said, if you can get it, not that bad. That's that I have to give them credit for that. But in New York, I have friends who they'd be calling every day for hours, could not get through, couldn't
Right.
get through. They're supposed to be doing back pay, and hopefully that'll happen. But it took well over a month for people to be able to actually get through.
Yeah, and the true solution is you need an emergency UBI in a situation like this. I mean, that's what you need, and they won't even utter it unless they're just trying to placate on Twitter.
And I will say to people, if they are applying for that stuff, do it. If you have a bank account, do it so you get direct deposit. You'll get that shit faster than if you get checks mailed to you. So definitely go that way. But I think some people in some other states, they haven't been able to get it at all. They just, because it's
that's the problem.
You have to apply for that unemployment and PUA through, I believe, always your state government. And some states, it's pretty much impossible to get,
Yeah, and you have to go through different hoops, and it at different times, it's different people are eligible. Like if you're self-employed, you weren't eligible until a certain time, and
now you are. Now
you are.
Right,
yeah,
right,
it's.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in Montreal, and I think it was like easy. They called, and they got through easily, and then 3 days later, they had the money. I think it was
the first deposit. It's like $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news